Today we're gonna dive into this really fascinating what-if timeline from the Invisible universe that explores exactly that question. So just picture this. Thragg is moments away from death, right at the end of the original story, and then boom, he suddenly finds himself back in his throne room years in the past. And the crazy part, he remembers everything. The betrayal, the coalition of planets that took him down, and most importantly, why he failed. This is what kicks off a brand new timeline where Thragg is laser-focused on correcting that one single fatal mistake.
So, Thragg's second chance? It begins with this terrifying new clarity. I mean, he has perfect knowledge of the future. He's not questioning his right to rule, oh no, or the righteousness of his empire, not at all. Instead, he understands with cold, hard precision exactly why he lost the first time around.
You have to remember his mindset, right? His justification for being a tyrant was rock solid in his own head. He truly believed his downfall wasn't because he was evil, but because he made one critical mistake. He let the bloodline of the old king, Argal, survive. To him, Nolan and Mark Grayson weren't just a nuisance. They were the single point of failure that cost him everything, a genetic problem that he was not going to let fester a second time.
So this time, there's no waiting around, no subtlety. Thragg's plan is swift and it is brutal. He knows exactly what he has to do: get to Earth and rewrite history at its most critical juncture. That means inserting himself right into that devastating, world-shattering fight between Nolan and Mark, right after Omni-Man drops the big reveal.
And that's just what he does. He shows up on Earth right in the middle of that father-son beatdown. No monologue, no warning. He, Lucan, and Anissa just attack. And they don't just win, they tear Nolan and Mark apart. Any hero who shows up to help, the Teen Team, the Guardians of the Globe, they're all systematically and brutally slaughtered by Anissa. The root of the problem, in Thragg's eyes, is just surgically removed.
And with Earth's greatest defenders just gone, the full Viltrumite invasion is unleashed. This isn't a long, drawn-out war. The takeover lasts just a few hours. The Pentagon is destroyed, the GDA shattered, and in that first assault, over 1 billion people die. Just like that, Earth is brought to its knees.
But for Thragg, this next part is deeply personal. He goes to the Grayson home and he confronts Debbie. Why? Because in his twisted mind, she was the trigger. She was the human who softened Nolan, who led to the birth of the son that would eventually kill him. And so he strangles her, viciously erasing every last trace of the family that ruined his first life.
So at this point, Thragg thinks he's won. He's done it. He's created his perfect, corrected timeline. But what he has no idea about is that his actions have just kicked off a totally new and honestly way more complicated conflict.
And here's where things get wild. Just as Cecil Stedman, one of the few GDA survivors, finds this pile of dead heroes, a pink glow just envelops them all. It turns out being killed pushed Adam Eve's powers beyond any limit anyone ever knew. Her powers activate in a way nobody thought was possible. She resurrects herself and every single fallen hero, including Nolan and Mark, and they all come back stronger than before. The Resistance? Yeah, it's not dead yet.
Okay, so what follows is this absolutely chaotic 6-month war. Nolan, he's just confused and feels totally betrayed. He can't wrap his head around why his own people would attack him, so he just leaves Earth. He's out. But Mark finds his mother's body, and that grief just boils over into pure, all-consuming rage. So he, along with the newly reformed GDA, kicks off a desperate, brutal guerrilla war.
And this, right here, is the central, really shocking twist of this whole timeline. Because while the heroes are fighting this brutal war for freedom, what was life actually like under Viltrumite occupation? Well, it wasn't what anyone expected.
You see, Thragg's rule, even though it started with unimaginable violence, brought this strange kind of order. They introduced advanced Viltrumite tech, and under their absolute zero-tolerance policy, global crime basically disappears. It just plummets. And the human population, well, they start to adapt. Pretty soon, the GDA's constant guerrilla attacks are seen as more destructive than the Viltrumites themselves. And a lot of people, they start to accept and even prefer this new reality.
This massive shift in public opinion, it sets the stage for a complete and total role reversal. The very war that should have cemented Mark as a hero ends up turning him into the villain in the eyes of the very people he's trying to save.
The real turning point comes during the Invincible War. You know, when Angstrom Levy unleashes dozens of evil Marks all over the world, the GDA is completely overwhelmed. They can't stop the destruction. But you know who can? The Viltrumites. Thragg, Conquest, and the others step in, and they just methodically destroyed every single evil Invincible, saving millions of lives in the process. And in that one moment, public opinion just flips entirely. The Viltrumites, the conquerors, are suddenly hailed as saviors. You've got people cheering for them in the streets. And at the same time, Mark and the GDA are now seen as the bad guys, ineffective, chaotic, and maybe even actively destructive.
I mean, it is a complete 180-degree flip of their original destinies. Mark Grayson, the guy who fought to save Earth, becomes public enemy number one. And Thragg, the tyrant who conquered it through bloodshed, becomes its celebrated leader. He finally gets the admiration he always wanted. Not through fear, but because he's actually seen as a hero.
And get this, it's Conquest, of all people, who sums it up perfectly. During a brutal fight with Mark, he literally tells him that he's a savior now, an object of admiration, and he's not letting Mark take that away. For the first time, these Viltrumite warriors aren't just cogs in an empire. They're seen as heroes by an entire planet. They found a purpose beyond just conquering, and they are not about to give that up. And you know what? This newfound admiration, it actually changes Thragg himself. Deep down, he sees the people of Earth praising him, and something inside him just shifts. He starts to feel protective of them. He starts to see Earth not just as a breeding farm, but as a genuine home, a home worth defending. In a really twisted way, he's actually starting to turn good.
Okay, so all of this is leading to one final showdown where the lines between good and evil have become so completely blurred, it's almost impossible to tell who's actually fighting for the right cause anymore.
All right, so Mark gets captured. The GDA agrees to a peace treaty, but surprise, surprise, it's a total fake-out. Their real plan is to use the meeting to free Mark and, more importantly, to steal the one weapon that could end the Viltrumite threat for good, the Scourge virus.
And this brings up a really terrifying question, doesn't it? The Scourge virus doesn't pick and choose. Sure, it could wipe out every Viltrumite, but it could also mutate and kill countless humans. So, in a world where the Viltrumites had become the protectors, is unleashing this plague the act of a hero, or is it the act of a monster?
So in the final battle, Thragg does something shocking. He actually offers Mark and Nolan a way out, a chance to just walk away and coexist. But Mark, he's blinded by rage. He's still grieving his mother. He refuses. And when he gets his chance, he shoots Thragg point blank with the Scourge virus.
And as the virus starts to take hold, Thragg gets out his last haunting words. He points out that he, the tyrant, was ready to die to protect these people, while Mark, the supposed hero, was now willing to risk everyone on Earth just to get his personal revenge. And you can see that realization just hit Mark like a ton of bricks.
So this whole messed up timeline leaves us with a really tough question. Thragg achieved his perfect, strong empire, but through unspeakable violence. Mark fought for freedom, but his personal quest for vengeance nearly destroyed the world he was trying to save. It just forces you to ask, in this new world, who was the real monster?